It's just this is really heavy. Ba-doobity doobity doobity.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to tonight's edition of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
That's me.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And so every week we have a different topic under that umbrella that we talk about.
Or that roof, or that ceiling, or that.
I like to say umbrella.
Okay.
We've been doing this radio show now for 7 years. And there's lots of episodes. 8 years. Corey says 8 years.
As of October, the end of October, I think it's 8 years.
And we broadcast every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 Pacific time on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. And we also put the show out to all the major podcasting platforms. But we have this really neat thing in that we also pre-record the show. And in doing so, it means we can have a live audience as we pre-record the show. And if you want to be part of the live audience, you can go to Leslie Phillips' YouTube channel, or you can go to the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group. And either of those will let you participate in our live studio audience. And I didn't say, and I should say for the radio show, that we broadcast on CIBL, and CIBL is on the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. And I believe that they just won a prize for being the top campus radio station in Canada, actually, for several years on the run. So congratulations, CIVL, on that news.
I just went to CIVL right now, and Birds of Canada is on right now.
Okay. Well, we're supposed to be scheduled for 7 to 8 every Tuesday. So usually we are.
Yes.
Anyway, tonight's show is about life lessons and your intuition, the relationship between life lessons and intuition. We've been doing a series on intuition and talking a little bit about my perspective, my point of view on intuition. And so tonight I wanted to make the show, if possible, pretty interactive from the beginning.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
So before I start giving a teaching, what I wanted to ask the live audience to do is to start posting in the chat early. And this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to think about some of the significant life lessons that you are aware of, either that you went through in the past or that you're in the middle of now. So if you're in the middle of some kind of struggle, you might not know what the lesson is yet, post in the chat about the struggle that you are going through. You don't necessarily have to ask it as a question. You can just post it as a statement. Although if you post it as a question, we will interpret it. We'll be able to get the information from it. All right.
What would an example be, Dr. Leslie?
Of a current struggle that you're going through. It could be, my mind is foggy. I just can't focus on what I'm doing. Or it could be,
I'll pick that one.
I'm having problems with boundaries, or I'm constantly arguing with my partner, or I struggle to hold down a job, or it could be I never have enough money. Just anything in your life at all. So basically, anything in your life at all that you're struggling with now, or anything that you can look back on your life that was a struggle, was a challenge, and maybe you don't know why you went through it, or maybe you do have some awareness that it was some kind of a lesson. So I'm just inviting people to post and write about that, because what I want to do is I want to co-create this show with the live audience so that we can look at all of these life challenges and struggles and relate them to intuition and relate them to the chakra system. That's what I'm hoping to do. But in the meantime, while we give people a chance to get here, and while we give people a chance to think about that, and while we give them a chance to write about it, I will talk a little bit. But I'll also say, you know, for the live studio audience, you know, we might be doing some more interactive stuff earlier on in the show, which is an incentive to listen from the beginning.
Hey, Dr. Leslie, what do you have as a topic for tonight's show?
I have intuition and life lessons. Is that the wrong topic?
That's the wrong topic, Dr. Leslie.
Oh, what's the topic, Corey?
How how do intuition, psychic abilities, and spirituality intersect?
We might have to start again if that's the wrong show. I was sure that that was what the show was. Let me just take a look at what the newsletter that you put out was. I didn't know that that was one that I had on my list. Which one was it on my list? You're going to have to cut out this chat that we're doing. Which one did you take that from my list? Tell me what I called it.
Hang on a second. You can talk while I do this.
Well, I will, but I think we're probably going to cut this bit out anyway. So folks, thank you for hanging in there. Apparently, there's some
spiritual growth and number 10, spiritual growth and intuition. Chakra journey. What do I support?
Yeah, it is what I'm saying. I'm just saying it in a different way.
Okay.
So it is correct. So
okay. Wonderful.
Good. I guess it's just the way that you wrote about it in your newsletter that you put out, but that is exactly what I am talking about. So cut that section out where we say, hang on, Dr. Leslie, you're talking about the wrong thing.
Okay.
Talking about the right thing.
I think that's a good outtake.
Yeah. So, yeah, I want to actually get my list up so I can look at what I called it.
Number 10.
Yeah, I know, but I just got to find the list because I don't have the show series list written.
Yes, but I did send you an email.
Spiritual growth and intuition. Spiritual growth and intuition. And spiritual growth is what I was talking about when I was saying life lessons and life challenges. So to me, life, when in our life on planet Earth, we go through many cycles of growth and change. And those cycles of growth and change can be experienced as a challenge, as a struggle of some kind, until we transcend that challenge. And then we can look back and we can go, oh, that's what I was learning about then. Oh, that's how I grew as a result of that experience. So, yeah, that's what I'm meaning when I say spiritual growth and intuition. So, because I think when people think about life struggles and life challenges, they might not see any connection with their intuition. They might say, well, it was just awful. I was just in the middle of this dreadful situation and I didn't know what to do. And I didn't even have any intuition about it. But once we get some examples, I'm going to explain how actually they very much are. And I'll give you a little bit of information now, which is to say that it's my concept that any life situation that you're going through, any challenge, any struggle can be mapped to the chakra system. So we can look at a particular struggle or challenge and say, that's relating very much to the third chakra, or that's relating very much to the second chakra. And as we gain mastery over the chakras, as we cleanse them and clear them and balance them, as we are senior to the energies that they represent, the flip side of the coin of the challenge that you were going through is the gifts of that chakra. And the gifts of that chakra include your intuition and include your psychic abilities. So let's take an example and let's see if we can use it as a good example of the concept that we're teaching about tonight.
You want to look at Lori, or Lori says
anyone who's posted.
Yeah, Lori says, I'm attaching to male second chakra for courage and want to disconnect.
So you're attaching to male. So in a way, you're already translating this for us. I think there's also some ones posted on Facebook.
Yes,
So,
I've got someone. I guess
okay,
let's
cool.
see. Handling it.
Good. Okay, so we're talking about the second chakra and a challenge of the second chakra. And so I think what Laurie's talking about is that, I mean, what would we say the challenge is? She feels like she has to behave as though she was in a male body in order to get results, in order to be noticed, in order to be effective. This is a very common thing, especially in the workplace, which has tended to be a very patriarchal system, that women run their bodies and run their chakra systems as though they were men in order to fit in and get along in that dynamic. And so the challenge is, believing that you have to be something other than you are, or someone other than you are, or even a different gender than you are, in order to progress, in order to succeed. So you say you're running your second chakra like a man would run his second chakra, as opposed to, or you're saying that you're running an imbalance in male and female energy, and that you want to correct that so that you can fully permit yourself to be in running your female body as a female body. And I will just explain this a little bit slightly more, in that there are energetic differences between the male and female body, at the male and female energy system. And that's what we're talking about here, that energy system. All right, next example or next question.
Yeah, this is from Sharon. Sharon says, as a younger woman, I struggle with being true to myself, sticking up for myself, respecting myself, and even acknowledging what it was that I wanted or needed in my life. I went through several rocky and abusive relationships. I'm not there any longer, though I'm still learning to be a priority in my life.
Okay, so you read that very fast. So she had a problem being true to herself. She had a problem respecting herself.
Sticking up for herself.
sticking up for herself.
And even acknowledging what it was that I wanted or needed in my life.
Yeah.
She went through several rocky or abusive relationships, and she's no longer there, though she's still learning to be a priority in her own life.
Okay. Yeah, there's a few different things here. And that's the other thing, you know, we can have, we could probably map this to a few different chakras. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we can also talk about this in the context of the second chakra, but probably some more. So let's start with the second chakra. Or even the heart chakra. What we're talking about here is being programmed to, I'm going to look at it because it could be a few different things, but on the one hand, it could be being programmed to be a people pleaser. So often we're sort of trained, other people are more important than you, put other people first, take care of their needs before you take care of your own needs, and so on. And so that's what it sounds like. And then we actually eventually lose touch with what our own needs might be. We don't even know that we have needs because we're spending all our energy looking after everybody else. So let's take a look at what was going on. Because there's also a level of disempowerment. There's also a level of not. So we could talk about the fifth chakra, not speaking up for yourself, you know, not speaking up for your, it's actually between the second and fifth chakra. Okay, so speaking up for your needs and wants and desires, second and fourth chakra. And also maybe a little bit of powerlessness, you know, with the abuse, powerlessness, not owning your power, not feeling safe. Gosh, we could talk about all the chakras in this one. Not feeling safe, not feeling secure, first chakra issue, not being in touch with your needs and desires, you know, second and maybe fourth chakra, feeling disempowered and powerless, third chakra. So all of those are things that keep you shut down and keep you from being yourself. But as you work on that and as you clear your energy system, then there's kind of like, as you reveal yourself to yourself, then there's also a revelation of your gifts. So you can reclaim your power. You can get in touch with your needs. You can reclaim your voice. And so the voice relates to the fifth chakra, both on a physical level, but also on a spiritual level, the inner voice, being able to hear your own higher guidance and being able to follow it. And being in touch with your power and your own energy in your third chakra and using your energy to listen to and follow your voice, being in touch with your body through your clairsentience and what your body is wanting and needing and being able to talk about that. And getting yourself into a more stable situation where you don't have to be frightened of, you know, what's going to be happening to you, like safety, security is a first chakra level thing. So hopefully that's making sense. And we all have these journeys of life, these challenges of life, and it's the journey through our chakra system. Do we have another example?
Yes, we do have another example. We also have an example. This is from SP. SP says, hello, I struggle with being present in the world. I have to force myself to do grounding meditation due to this. Thanks.
Okay. Well, and maybe I'll look at that, because there can be different reasons for why somebody doesn't want to be present in the world. Sometimes when people have been abused, then they develop a belief and understanding that the world is a very dangerous, scary place and I don't want to be here. But equally, there could just be an imbalance in the upper chakras, and they're wanting to be more in the mental realm, or more in the spiritual realm. So I'll take a look at this for SG.
SP.
SP. And see what SP's reason for struggling to be in the world. Well, there's a few things going on. We're going to talk about the crown chakra, and we might talk about the first chakra. So I'm going to tell you some of the signs of having an imbalance in your seventh chakra, feeling spaced out, feeling disconnected. So when I look at your crown chakra, it looks, and your energy, it looks like it is very up here. Very up here. And the crown chakra is the gateway to higher consciousness. It's how we connect with our divine self. It's how we connect with the divine. And it's how we can connect into realities beyond the earth plane reality. So I see you're kind of focused there, up in the clouds, so to say. And I see that you're therefore not as present in your body as you need to be in order to fully experience this life, and in order to fully express your unique energy in the world. So I'm looking at why now, what is stopping you. And actually one of the things that's coming up is some kind of blockage or issue with regard to the fifth chakra. And it just feels like this idea of something or somebody having a stranglehold on you. So I don't know, you can tell us in the chat, it looks to me like it's something like this, possibly a strict upbringing, or exposure to someone who was very controlling or very strict, where it was very frightening to be in the presence of that person. So you went somewhere else. And why the fifth chakra, it just looks like somebody who wanted to shut you up and shut you down, and make you compliant with their perspective, their voice, what they wanted to happen. And so it just looks like you went off out of the body, exploring alternate realms, and you haven't healed this thing that's going on in the fifth chakra yet. So it makes you feel like it's not really safe to be in your body. And you kind of abandon being in the body. So what can help you is healing what's going on in the fifth chakra, so that you can get your voice back and be in charge of your own life. So now you've not got this you're an adult, presumably you're an adult, you know, and you don't have to put up with whatever that was. And then, you know, you got the right idea with the grounding, but it just seems like this in the fifth chakra is a bit of a big deal. And so working on that as well. And also what I'm seeing is that you tend to have your crown chakra really, really wide open. And that can be very ungrounding in itself. So having a very narrow focus with the crown chakra, that I'm just connecting in to myself, my own soul, my own relationship with God. Because, you know, it looks like that would also be helpful. So hopefully that resonated with SP. Did she give us any feedback?
Oh, not as of yet, but folks, feel free to, you know, like send some more stuff in and also comment. I know that it's time for a break, Dr. Leslie.
Sure. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's edition of Unlocking Your Truth. And Corey and I have a slightly different idea, but what we're talking about is spiritual growth and intuition, and how there's a relationship with spiritual growth in the chakra system. There's a relation with intuition in the chakra system. And there's also the challenges we go through in life. We process them through the chakras, and some of them can be quite specifically mapped to the chakra system. And as we heal ourselves and become conscious of our growth, and as we cleanse our system, that the gifts of the chakras are on the other side of that. And AKA your psychic abilities or your intuition are part of the gifts that can be unlocked within the chakra system.
So earlier you worked with Sharon, who was struggled to be herself. And so she sent a note back saying, "Thanks, I'm in a stable place now. That was one of my life's journeys."
Yeah.
Okay. So also SP, who you just were working with, sent back a note, and she said, "Thank you so much. This is my first time here. Yes, I suffered many very traumatic experiences. Oh my gosh, yes, I was silenced, etc." She's an ex-nun. "I don't feel safe here on this earth realm after all of these."
Oh, she's an ex-nun. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense why you're floating up there in the spiritual realm. Yes. So my perspective, and of course I just offer this as my perspective, and you have your own unique perspective, but it's that we are eternal multidimensional beings. That means, using human language, the vast amount of our energy is in the spirit realm. We are always in the spirit realm. But then we create these finite things called bodies, and we assign part of our consciousness to be embodied within the body, so that we can bring the divine light of consciousness that we are onto the earth plane. And so it's sort of like there's already the larger part of you in the spirit realm, but there's also a part of you that's meant to be in the body. And if you're never in the body, then you can't achieve what it is that you came here for, or you can't fully explore the purpose of your life, the theme of your life, and become the conscious creator of your life. Because it's like having a car, but nobody's driving it. All right. Do we have another example?
Yes, we do. This is from Karen. Karen says, "I'm going through a breakup, which is making me see I have have to let go of old patterns that were not working for me.
Yes. Okay, so shall we have a look at what some of those old patterns might be? Well, one of the old patterns seems to be actually relating to being rigid and sort of rigid and maybe a little bit stubborn. And it might feel like what you're doing is defending yourself, standing your ground and defending yourself and preventing yourself from being walked all over or pushed around. But it's also, what I'm seeing is there's a level of, I guess, being stuck in that defensive stance. I'm going to give you a little hand with that, and as we loosen that up, there might come some other things to say. Yeah, just, it's like a stubbornness. It's like, you know, no, I'm not going to change, or no, why should I change? Or, and so, and it looks like that there's fear of change, maybe even a fear of true intimacy, and a fear of being vulnerable, a fear of leaving yourself exposed and vulnerable, and I guess a lack of trust in the flow of life and the process of life. And I'm just looking at your energy. I'm not looking at your ex-partner's energy, because that's not to say that the other person's perfectly healed either. Because usually we attract who we need to attract in order to get to this stuff. So if we look at, well, what's the main chakra or chakras here? You know what, funnily, what's coming up almost is the feet chakras, because it's like they're planted in concrete. And the feet chakras relate to your relationship with the planet, and therefore your relationship with change and the ability to move with the changes and the shifts in energy. And so it feels like part of this transformation for you is moving more into a state where you can go with the flow and trust in the universe and trust in the process of life. And so that's what I'm getting from this particular example. And sometimes, you know, we're defending ourselves because we're saying, well, I'm right and you're wrong. Sometimes it can be that. Instead of just being flexible and acknowledging that there are as many perspectives as there are people. Each one of us is created differently. Each one of us is unique. So we're not going to see everything perfectly 100% the same as any other person. And so part of being in relationship is to be aware that that other person does have their own unique perspective that is different than yours. So hopefully you're finding that helpful, Karen. It just looks like to move into more flexibility, allow yourself to go with the flow a bit more and let go of some of that rigid stance.
Well, thank you, Dr. Leslie. And this is a follow-up from SP. She says, I so believe we are multidimensional beings. I actually became a nun because I thought I'd be safe after all the early life trauma. I'm planning on making an appointment with you. Thank you.
Oh, Oh, wonderful. Oh, I look forward to meeting you.
Yes. And this is from Misty. Misty says, work situation, employee shortage, and working too much. Is it the root chakra? How do you correct it?
Oh, working too much. Okay. Well, I don't know that this is the case for you, but I'll just make a comment on it because that's a common thing, workaholism. Workaholism. It is a common thing, overworking. And there can be different reasons behind it. You know, it can be that we've just been brought up that way, we've just been programmed that way, that we have a ton of expectations on us, or we have a lot of responsibility stuff, you know, that that we are, because we can do it, we should do it. And so we do it. And because we're responsible for it. So all of those notions of being responsible, etc., can cause us to sacrifice our own health and well-being. Of course, it seems like that's a genuine reason, though. If there's an employee shortage and you're running a business, what do you do? So that might be, let's look into that as well, and maybe that's a manifestation thing. Well, and also, funnily enough, so then we've got the hand chakras, which do relate to manifestation, because I'm trying to relate each question to a chakra or some chakras. And it's a combination of some of the things we've already talked about, which is, in a way, it just looks like there's this, it's like it needs to be done, and I'm the only one to do it, so I'm going to force myself and push through it. So it's not prioritizing your own needs and putting the needs of someone else or something else ahead of yourself. And I'm actually also seeing that you're taking a very physical focus on the situation. And Misty is one of my students, if it's the same Misty, and I think it is. Misty's one of my students. And so what I would say to you, Misty, is that you can also take a spiritual focus. And remember, you know, if we just take a physical focus, then time, space, reality, physical, you know, I've got to get in there with my body doing the tasks of the job. But if we take a spiritual focus, then we can use, and you do know some manifestation techniques, and in modulative unlock, you've done, yeah, you know, the pink balloon manifestation technique, I'm pretty sure. So you could be using manifestation techniques to manifest new employees. You could be working with your spirit guides and asking your spirit guides to help you attract some new employees. You could be working on the energy of your business to keep it high and bright and attractive to new employees. You could be manifesting a more balanced life for yourself. So it looks to me like you are really taking primarily a physical focus and forgetting that you have a lot of spiritual information, and that you could be putting your spiritual information and your spiritual tools to use to help you get rebalanced here. And so, and your guides are just reminding me to say, many hands make light work. So you think you're alone, or you know, or there's limited resources and you've just got to get on with it, but you're forgetting that you have a lot of unseen helpers that you could bring into the situation. I hope that helps.
I hope so too. So the next issue is from Katie. And Katie says, I tragically lost my mom and aunt when I was 17 years old. And I'm wondering if this has anything to do with the challenges I've experienced in the relationships, particularly unfulfilling romantic relationships.
Okay, I just want to check. Are we coming up to an ad, Corey?
We got 4 minutes.
Oh, okay, right. So, all right, let's take a look. Is there a connection between losing your mum and your aunt to having unfulfilling romantic relationships? Well, the first thing I want to say is you didn't lose your mum or your aunt in spirit. So they are still with you. They're just on the other side of you know, they're in the non-physical reality, but I see that their energy is still around you. But as a human being, you can have the concept that you've lost them. You can have the experience that you've lost them and not be aware of the fact that they're still very much around, actually. That said, I'm going to look at the unfulfilling romantic relationships. Well, I do see, it's funny, there's a notion that there's something missing. So you're feeling there's something missing. There's something missing from my life. There's something missing from this relationship. And so it looks like you're in the relationships, you're yearning for something that doesn't appear to be there, hence the lack of fulfillment. And what is it that you're it feels like what you really want is unconditional love and devotion. And it does feel like your mum and aunt are a symbol of that. And it feels like in your relationships that the person that they're not loving you unconditionally. It's a very rare human. You know, parents can sometimes manage to do that, but often not even. But I'm seeing that what you're wanting is you're feeling unfulfilled because it looks like you're wanting to be accepted and loved completely, and you're feeling like that's not what you're getting. But what you're getting is a human being with all of their foibles. So that's one part of it that I'm seeing. So it just looks like a struggle. I'm seeing it very much. This is all to do with your heart chakra, by the way. So you're looking for that unconditional love. And there's lots of little energy cords attached around the area of the heart chakra. I don't know whether they're connecting to these past relationships, my list of unfulfilling relationships, maybe. And this might sound like something that you've heard before. It's constantly said in spiritual circles, you know, in order to find love, we first need to love ourselves. So ask the question, do you love yourself unconditionally? Do you love yourself unconditionally? Because if you can love yourself unconditionally, then what you are radiating is unconditional love. And then you are an attraction for unconditional love and acceptance. And I'm seeing the answer to that. It looks like, no, you're not loving yourself and accepting yourself unconditionally. And again, it's not a criticism because it's a rare human being, right? This is part of what we're learning. Being in these bodies is to love ourselves and love each other. Let's see what else I can say about this. And the heart chakra is all about that. The heart chakra is the energy center that, when we have, healed it and worked through these challenges, on the other side is what we call affinity and oneness. And oneness is the interconnectedness of all things, and affinity is that magnetic force of attraction. That sort of, so yeah, unconditional love, compassion, all of those attributes, they're part of the heart chakra. So it feels like you're on a journey of the heart. I'm being told that it's time for a break. But yeah, Katie, you can tell us if that resonates with you. Welcome back, everyone, to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. Tonight, we're talking about spiritual growth and intuition. We're talking about the challenges of life, life lessons, the kinds of experiences we go through in this life, and how might they relate to the chakra system, and how might they relate to intuition as well. And they relate because there's a pathway from the unevolved self to the evolved self, from the unhealed self to the healed self, to the one who is unconscious, to the one who's conscious, to the one who's in charge of their energy, from the one who wasn't. And it's like the more we heal ourselves, then the more we open to the gifts within our chakra system. So somebody with an unhealed fourth chakra, for example, might be going through, might feel lonely, passionless, invalidated, nobody helps me, nobody loves me. They might be caught in cycles of overgiving or having conditional love rather than unconditional love, which is what we were just talking about, judging themselves, judging others, feeling responsible for others, losing your individuality, being, many, many different things, non-forgiveness, non-acceptance. But if we can work our way through all of that, on the other side of that is unconditional love, acceptance, gratitude, connection. So, Katie, thank you for your sharing your story with us.
Yeah, she's given us a couple of more things after the reading. She says, yes, I agree. Their energy is very much around me. And thank you. And then she says, I do believe that I love myself and others unconditionally. I agree that is what I'm missing in my current and past relationships.
What was the first part that you said?
The first one talks about her mother. I think it was her mother.
Oh yeah, no, but she said missing. So she agrees she's missing unconditional love in her relationship.
Well, no, she actually says, I do believe that I love myself and others unconditionally.
Right.
But yet she says, I agree that is what I'm missing in my current and past relationship. So she probably meant to say she doesn't have.
So isn't that interesting? So what you said is, I love myself and others unconditionally, but that's missing in my relationships. So the people who I'm in relationship with are not loving me unconditionally, loving themselves unconditionally. So that's kind of interesting. And I would meditate on that and say, is it absolutely true that you're loving yourself unconditionally and loving others unconditionally? Because think about the law of attraction. You attract the energy of, I'm going to look at that again. You attract the energy of what you are. Okay. So there may be some things that you can find in a way that are conditional within yourself. Is it true that you never ever judge another person? But then let me look at that again very briefly. I'm seeing that you go into the relationship open-hearted, and you go into the relationship hopeful, and you go into the relationship loving unconditionally. But I'm also seeing that you get wounded and hurt by the interactions or things that go on, and that knocks you out of alignment with the feeling of unconditional love. It's a very rare person that can I mean, so think about Christ on the cross. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. To be on the receiving end of abuse and unfairness, and to be able to still unconditionally love. So anyway, Kate, that's the chakra that you're working on. It's your heart chakra. And I just don't meditate on that a bit more, maybe.
Thank you. So this is from Karen. And Karen said, I developed Graves' disease. Could this be from fear of speaking out, abuse, which chakras could affect this effect?
Well, yeah, probably the fifth chakra. So that's a thyroid issue, and the thyroid gland maps to the fifth chakra. Let's have a look. And just pop a note in, Karen. I can't remember if Graves is under or overactive thyroid. I think it's underactive, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Wouldn't dare.
Well, no. Well, I'm seeing a lot of congested energy around the fifth chakra, that's for sure. And it also feels like I want to say a vibration of unworthiness. And that's sort of like, yeah, well, who would want to listen to me? Or who am I? Or nobody's going to care what I have to say. Or, you know, that kind of thing. I'm just going to Google Graves' disease. Seems nobody's given me the.
It says overactive.
Overactive. Oh, overactive. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. See, I know it when it's called hypo or hyper. But we've got Hashimoto's and Graves, haven't we? All right, so looking at the idea of it being overactive. That feels very fight or flight to me. It feels like it's related to fear. Like fear, anxiety, stress. hypervigilance. So it's like having to stay on top of things and being afraid of not staying on top of things. And you were asking, is it fear of speaking up?
And abuse.
Yeah, so that there's definitely some unworthiness, like I said, fear and unworthiness, anxiety, stress, all of those kinds of things. And like I said, yeah, hypervigilance, having to be aware of what's going on so that you can be on top of the situation. That's kind of what I'm picking up. I mean, fear of speaking up and speaking out, I guess that is there in the context of kind of not wanting to be picked on. And so the hypervigilance is to try and stay on top of things so as not to be picked on. That's what it feels like to me. Hopefully that resonates.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Leslie. And by the way, folks, if you're enjoying the show, please give us a like, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. Thank you so much.
Invite your friends to come along.
Yeah, but then they may not get in line fast enough. So
Invite
this is from
friends.
this is from Sammy. I'm not sure if it's Sammy Charles that they want to be called or Sammy. And Sammy says, feel a bit caged, trapped, any connection with my chakras.
Yes. And it's sort of an unusual thing that I'm seeing, so it might take me a moment to look at it. It's really interesting. It's sort of like, imagine that you were a caged animal, but actually you're just wearing the cage and walking around with it. So the only reason that you're in a cage is because you've put yourself in a cage. It's that kind of idea. I'm not seeing it as a cage, though. I'm seeing it like these energies that come out in front and behind, kind of the second chakra or in between the first and second chakra. And so it's sort of like this thing that comes out and then has a block. And it comes out the front and it has a block. And it comes out the back and it has a block. And that block represents, well, I can only go in between these two barriers. And that's my limit. I can't go beyond that. And that's the caged feeling. And if we look at like, how does that relate to it feels like that part of it might, I'd be very interested to know a little bit more about your background and upbringing and whether there's a particular religion, because it feels like some of it might even be like sexual repression, a bit like, you know, Catholicism or something. I'm not sure it is Catholicism, but it feels like very strict rules about how you can behave and what you can do and what you can't do. And that those rules are not really yours, they are imposed upon you. And that if you could live your life freely in the way that you would choose, you wouldn't choose those rules. It's that kind of a feeling. And as I'm speaking, it's really funny. As I'm speaking, and presumably you're listening, this thing, it's going up. So it moved up to the third chakra and up, and it's going up as if it's sort of clearing bits of it through the chakra system. So it seems to have hit a chord a little bit there. Is there anything else that we can say about this? So it's like a remnant of it now underneath the third chakra. And it's sneaky because it's not directly in the chakras, it's sort of underneath them. And that feels like also like a religion, also it's for your own good. It's for your own good that you obey these rules. It's for your own good that you stay within these limits. It's like this sugared spoon that's got poison in it, you know. You take your medicine. That's what it feels like. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a healing and see if anything else comes up with that, with respect to that. So, and I say a cage of your own making because it's your choice whether to carry that around with you or not. The idea is that you can let it go. You can let it go of any programming, any rules that you were brought up to adhere to that don't feel right to you anymore. And it's also, it feels like the feeling like a caged animal. It's like you want to explode out of it because you can't create your life the way that you want. You can't express yourself the way that you want. And so it is a bit like a caged animal. It's a much more limited set of rules. You are kind of evolved beyond them, whatever they are. It just doesn't really apply to your stage of consciousness. Hopefully that makes sense to you, Sammy.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Leslie. This is from Sharon. Sharon says, it's become more apparent to me what I'm here to do. For example, when I was a child, I had a huge interest, affinity in herbs, health, and nutrition, but I got distracted until recently when I got a diploma in herbalism. I now see that there were frequent instances when I was being prodded to go that direction, but didn't listen.
Is there a question? That's just feedback, really. Yeah.
Yeah. She had asked a
Well,
question.
it sort of follows on from what we were just saying to Sammy,
yeah.
doesn't it? You know, that we get programmed into this idea of the life we're supposed to live and the way that we're supposed to behave.
Yeah.
And we override our own instincts until we work on ourselves enough and that we clear the foreign energy enough that we can now start to really tune into, no, this is me and this is my passion.
And this is the last question for Dr. Leslie, or last statement. So this is from Rosalind. Rosalind says, I have positive goals, but I'm having to fight harder because of a dark entity attached. Which chakra can help if it is strengthened?
When you've got an entity, it's usually in all your chakras. And you usually need a good clean out from all of your chakras. But which chakra does it look like it's affecting the most? It's the crown chakra, the most, but it is in other places as well. But the thing is, when you've got an entity, you need to clear it from everywhere. Otherwise, it's just gotten in back to, if you just clear out your crown chakra and you don't clear out the others, it will just go right, it's still in there, it's still in the system. All right.
Okay, Sammy Charles just he said my heart center is always hot. Wants to know how to get it out, but we've run out of time, unfortunately, and said thank you to you as well.
Oh, you're welcome. And folks, if you enjoyed the show, please come back again next week. There are some other ways that you can hang out with me. Once a month, I have a free third Thursday, especially for people who are interested in developing their intuition and want to ask questions about that and learn about my courses. That's free. If you Google Dr. Leslie Phillipson free third Thursday, the page should come up. There's also a webinar series called Awaken Your Intuition that you can sign up for, and that's free as well. But also don't forget that I do private readings, private mentoring, private healings, and I teach psychic development courses. And so if you like this little taster, but you're interested in more, then go to my website and you can connect with me at info@drlesliephillips.com as well. Yeah, I'd love to see some of you in those intuition courses, because that truly is my passion, is helping you to access your own intuition and access your own healing abilities so that you can answer your own questions and so that you can make these shifts within your own energy.